Welcome back to the Junkie Sports Podcast. Well, we're going to go ahead and hop right back into it with some new NBA news coming in as all the players have been getting to the bubble and the scrimmages have started today. So the first thing I kind of want to bring up to you guys is a really unique viewpoint that I've been seeing on YouTube and vlogs is JaVale McGee and Matisse Thybulle are the two vlogs I've kind of been seeing on YouTube. And I think it's just like a really interesting kind of idea and a look into life of an NBA player inside the bubble. Have you guys had a chance to look at those? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten really into them. I think it's a really unique perspective to be able to see from an NBA player, seeing what's going on, the inside level, the day-to-day life and kind of what they're going through. It's no surprise to me after having watched some of those and looking at, some of the protocols they have in place for COVID and the checks and kind of all the different systems in place that they just recently got down to zero positive COVID tests down there in the bubble. I think they've taken it really well. And at this point now it's just, a lot of Disney property that they're going to, go fish on the lake and do a lot of fun things. So it should be cool to see them link up. And I'd like to see more and more pop up. I know Troy Daniels also started one recently, and so we were able to see some of the Nuggets' day-to-day lives. And I think more players might start doing it as it gets closer to the playoffs. We'll see.
Yeah, I haven't watched JaVale's at all, but I've watched Matisse Thybulle's, and he's actually done a really good job. I mean, his first one was it was a great episode about just the precautions they take of entering the bubble, and then since then of just day-to-day stuff. And I mean, he mentioned in one of them, he's like, I don't really know what to put anymore because you guys have seen basically the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I thought it was interesting how they're on such a strict regimen, and I'll be interesting to see who reacts best with it,
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one thing I'm going to recommend out to all of our listeners today is definitely go ahead and check out some of those vlogs. It really normalizes and humanizes the players. I just think it's a really interesting viewpoint and kind of what their lives are right now. And then the next kind of thing I want to talk into before we get into our main topic today is so the NBA scrimmages started today to kind of ramp up the players before the actual restart season begins. I know today one big player I watched was Bol playing some of his first few minutes. He actually looked really good in some of the highlights I was watching, got some blocks, made a transition three. I'm just really excited because it kind of just feels like basketball's finally back. Are you guys ready for this? I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at any of those games, but I'm ready to go. It's just really starting to finally come in effect this restart season.
Absolutely. I'm so ready to see some sports again. I just watched the last few minutes of Clippers versus Magic on NBA TV, and I think they mentioned that Paul George hit a
buzzer beater too.
Yeah, he did. Was that at halftime?
It was either halftime or the quarter. I think it was the first half, actually, now that I think about it.
Okay. So. Well, because I saw him and Lou Will combine for 40, so they had a pretty good showing today.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great day to be a basketball fan, and this is some of the best news we've had in 2020. I'm glad to see basketball is back in some capacity, and hopefully everyone can find access to it, or the games will show up on YouTube after the fact so everyone can tune in and get their sports fix.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and segue into our main topic for today, which is going to be each of ours end of season award predictions. And so we're going to walk through all 6 of those for today. So the first one is going to be the big juicy one, the MVP. Davis, why don't you go ahead and start us off? Who do you got as your MVP for this year?
All right, so I just want to start off clarifying on this whole conversation that these are predictions, not what we would like or hope to see. Correct.
Correct. This is your prediction. It's not just your bias. Take your bias out of it. Just who you genuinely think would win.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're running with it, and it's this one's no contest. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks were on pace to win over 70 games before the NBA shut down, and after coming off of his MVP campaign last season, he didn't take his foot off the gas at all. He expanded his game and added a 3-point shot that's much more reliable, as well as a mid-range game that's more dominant against teams. And overall, he has put together one of the best regular seasons of all time in terms of production level, as well as value added to the best record team in the NBA. On top of that, anyone that says otherwise, that it's not Giannis for MVP for the season, they're just trying to create a narrative, in my opinion, or find something to talk about. But that's just ridiculous because Giannis will win this award. And then finally, just kind of, I don't know. What do you guys have to say about it?
Yeah, I would like to see LeBron win it. That's just like, as a LeBron fan, I'd love to see him win it, but I know Giannis is going to win it this year. I mean, he's had a phenomenal year. Doing what he's done and only playing 30 minutes and putting up almost 30 points and like 13 rebounds, and just his like value on the court. Like, if you take him off that team, they are not the number one seed in the East by any means. So he really, really is the most valuable player for that team and in the league.
So
yeah, absolutely.
For me, this is honestly kind of a tough decision. I think the voters are going to pick Giannis. I really do. But I honestly think LeBron deserves it more. I think LeBron.
Wait.
Hold on.
Didn't you just tell me that these
Davis,
are the predictions
hold on.
and not what we would like
I'm
to
telling
see?
you what I think the voters will pick, but I'm also telling you why I think LeBron should win it. So I think LeBron deserves to win MVP more than Giannis. If I got to pick, I'm picking LeBron James. Now, I think Giannis is going to win, but the reason why I think LeBron deserves it more is because, to me, MVP is like a 75% offensive-based award. I think offense is the biggest category for it. And in my opinion, LeBron impacts his team more offensively. And I just think MVP is a guard and wing-driven award just because they have the ball more in their hands, especially with the way today's game is played. And I just think the way that LeBron's able to win, able to lead his team, and he's leading the league in assists, I just think that really like sets the tone for that team. And one kind of stat I really looked into was like on-court, off-court, like offensive rating for the team. And on the court, it put for their offensive rating for the Lakers, they're like second in the league. When he's off the court, the Lakers are like 28th in the league offensively. It's really, it's a huge drop off. And where Giannis makes up that difference between his on-court, off-court is on the defensive end. And not to say Giannis isn't a great player. He is the leader for the Bucks. He sets the tone offensively and defensively. I just think because MVP is such an offensive-based award, that's why I think LeBron deserves it more. But at the end of the day, I would be shocked if Giannis didn't win it. I really would. But I think LeBron deserves it.
I would like to see LeBron win it just because he's 35, years 17, and he is leading the league in assists. It's just what Giannis has done within because he only plays 30 minutes a night and he's still putting up like absurd numbers. So when they factor that into, there's no way they won't choose him for MVP.
And one other thing quick before you can go ahead and talk, Davis. Let me rephrase what we said at the beginning. These are our predictions. Let's go with that. These are going to be our predictions for the award. So it's more like, I think that should be a better way to phrase it, is you can mention who you think would win. I think Giannis is going to win, but I also think that we should talk about like who we think deserves those awards, because these are our predictions. It's like, I don't think we should be predicting like the voters and like what exactly they're going to do. I think it should be more of a who do we think deserves it most. So let me rephrase that from before.
All right, sounds good. So I'll keep a list of everyone's predictions, and then once the awards are out, we can review it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I really like that. Good idea.
Sick.
Okay.
So everyone has an official prediction, and then they can have their vote.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and segue.
Oh wait, I did want to say one thing, David.
Go ahead.
So going back to LeBron, you talked about how MVP is a very offensive driven award, and how LeBron has made this case because he is, leading his team and is the driving factor. However, he is obviously playing alongside Anthony Davis, and that doesn't take away from LeBron James's game itself. However, that being said, Anthony Davis is an integral part of that team and leads them in every key metric besides assists, which obviously LeBron James is leading the team. And so I think by the same logic, Anthony Davis could be, in that same conversation. Obviously, we'll see his name pop up, I'm sure, whenever it comes around to Defensive Player of the Year. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was an interesting stat I saw the other day.
Yeah, so the reason why even though a lot of people toss in Anthony Davis for the MVP award, honestly, okay, let's just throw out a quick little hypothetical here. If we took if we took LeBron James off the Lakers and Giannis off the Bucks, how do we think those teams would do? Because although Anthony Davis is an excellent player, obviously he's a superstar in the league, but it's literally been proven he is not he's not someone that can carry his team to the playoffs. Honestly, it's proven with him in New Orleans.
LeBron did not do that for the Lakers last season without AD either.
LeBron had the Lakers as a 4-5 seed until he got injured.
Yeah. There was the injury. I'm just saying. You can't.
But Anthony Davis wasn't. I mean, he was literally in New Orleans for what, 7 years?
In the league, though.
What?
They went from not making the playoffs to the number 1 seed in the loaded West because of the Anthony Davis trade alone.
Not at all.
That and not at all. LeBron
a healthy LeBron.
Key reason, absolutely.
A healthy LeBron.
I agree with that. I agree.
I think if Anthony Davis is obviously an excellent player, and if we're gonna compare teams here, obviously Anthony Davis is significantly better than anyone on the Bucks besides Giannis. However, all the rest of the play, there are several players I would pick on the Bucks after if we were picking rosters and you had to pick the best players from each team after LeBron, Giannis, and Anthony Davis. The next few players are from the Bucks. I think the Bucks are a way better team than the Lakers. I really do, and that's one of the reasons why I think LeBron deserves MVP. Is the fact that he has his team first in the West. I really think the Bucks top to bottom are a better team. I think the Lakers are a little bit more top heavy because they obviously the best duo in the league. But I just really think the Bucks have a better team, and I think they would honestly still be a top 4 seed. I mean, maybe not top 4. I think they'd be 4 or 5 seed in the East if they didn't have Giannis on their team. I really do. They're a very good team.
I guess we'll have to disagree on that one, but oh well.
All right, so everyone's official vote for MVP or their prediction is Giannis, correct?
Yes, I think Giannis will win.
Correct.
But I think LeBron deserves it.
All right, perfect. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, so next one's going to be Rookie of the Year. So right away, I think we all agree it's going to be Zai. I'm just kidding. Ja Morant. Ja Morant, obviously. I think we can all unanimously agree on that one. He's been the best rookie all year. Anyone on TV that says that even Zion can come, even Zion's my favorite player. There's no possible way. I don't care if he averaged 40 points in the next 8 games. He doesn't deserve it. Ja Morant most undoubtedly deserves to win Rookie of the Year. I got nothing else to say. I mean, he put a very awful team into the 8th seed. So, hat off to him, honestly.
In the
what?
You chopped up a little bit there, Ben. Yeah, you broke up a little bit there.
Oh, dang it.
I think we can hear you.
I think if Zion actually, I think if Zion puts up 30, 35 points and 15 rebounds and totally leads the Pelicans to the 8th seed, it'd be hard to vote against him after seeing that. Honestly, and especially if he moves the Grizzlies out of the picture as well.
Even if Zion leads the Pelicans to the 8th seed, I just think what Ja Morant has done all year long it's just too much. Like I just don't think there's any way for Zion to
Yeah.
overcome that. I think if like they had played out the regular season normally and they had played like all like 20 or whatever some games left, 25 I think it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think
pure
Zion could have gotten
speculation.
it. I really do. But in
Yeah,
8
we'll never
games,
know.
no.
We'll never
In
know.
8 games, no. There's no way.
Well, that being said, they already closed began the voting process, and they said that 8 games will not play any factor.
Oh, really? I did not know they
I
said
did
that.
see that. Yeah. So if that,
That's okay. I disagree
I forgot
with
about
that.
which I
that.
think
Yeah.
is good. I think it's good because some of these players aren't even on teams that are playing. Like when we get into, maybe a Devonte Graham for the Hornets, like they're not even playing right now. He can't really improve his stock on some of those
That's
awards.
fair, I guess. Yeah.
So I think it's good they did that. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then for sure, John Morant.
John Morant's got this easily. So, all right. So the next one we got is 6th man of the year. Ben, who do you got?
Who did I have?
Or Davis, you can go ahead if Ben, you're not ready.
Davis, go ahead.
I had Dennis Schroeder here for the Thunder. I think it was kind of easy. Unfortunately, there's 2 really good potential candidates on the same team, with Montrez and Lou Will.
Yep.
Which I think that does take away the value from each of them, because with their own rights, if they were by themselves and didn't have the other there, I think they'd have it clearly. But that being said, I think Dennis Schroeder has proved to be a key cog in that Thunder rotation, where he's able to come off and be a part of a 3-headed monster front court that's able to dominate teams and have really exceeded expectations this season. And I think a lot of that has been due to Schroeder's work and playmaking abilities out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've got Schroeder as well. You pretty much said it, Davis. So
I have Montrezl Harrell. So I was between either him or Lou Will. I mean, the Clippers bench, it just dominates everyone else's bench. Like, that's the reason why they're one of the most dominant teams in the league right now. And so I really believe that one of those 2 will bring home the 6th man of the year. But I think it's Montrezl Harrell, just because Lou Williams already got it 3 times, and just when it comes down to voting, they'll most likely side with the guy who hasn't got it before.
I also
compared to the guy that's gotten it 3 times.
Yeah, I also think Montrezl Harrell honestly has had a better season this year than Lou Williams. I just think he's played a lot better. To me, it definitely comes down between Montrez and Dennis Schroeder. I just think what the Thunder accomplished this year and putting themselves in that like middle of the West, I think Dennis Schroeder was an integral part of that. I really think that's what kind of just pushes him over the edge to the 6th man. Whereas like the Clippers, they were honestly expected to be a top 3 seed in the West. And if they weren't, honestly, they'd be a complete failure because they have an elite team.
Right.
So.
Well, I also say that they would not be in like where they are without Montrezl Harrell, though. And they'd probably still be like, 4 or 5, but I really don't think that they would be quite as good if they didn't have him.
Interesting.
All right.
Interesting.
I will say, I have a question for you guys. Do you think that because Lou Will has won the 6th man of the year award in the past so many times, that takes some of that they might be looking to find someone else that's had a good season? I mean, obviously Lou Will has had a great season in his own rights.
Yeah.
And in every right deserves this award just as much as Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell. But do you think because of his accolades and achievements with this award in the past that takes away some of his consideration this year?
Absolutely. I think it's kind of been proven with LeBron and MVP. I just think I've always found that it's a kind of the voters really want to not have like repeat award receivers. I don't really know why. I like completely disagree with that. I think it should just come down to who had the best season for that award, honestly. And I think that's a significant factor for a lot of the voters is how many times has this player received this particular award. Like I think especially with like Lou Williams, like there's gonna be several times when people are just like, let's not give it to him because he's already won it multiple times. And I think that's kind of crap, to be honest. I mean, if Lou Williams had the best season off the bench, he should receive it. Now, I just think Dennis Schroeder had a better season, but that's a good point, though, Davis. That's definitely an interesting topic to discuss.
Also, who else do you think's in the talks for six man? Do you think Derrick Rose is in?
Derrick Rose has had a great season.
Yeah, I would have mentioned
he has had a great
Rose.
season. Yeah. I just think the other three are a step above him.
Overshadowing them.
They had better seasons. And the others were on playoff caliber teams, and Derrick Rose wasn't. So just kind of how the cookie crumbled in his situation.
All right. So let's go ahead and segue into our next award. It's going to be the most improved player. Davis, who do you got for this?
Let me go last on this.
You want to go last? All right. Ben, why don't you go ahead?
I got it.
Okay. I have my pick on Brandon Ingram. He had a great season. He's still having a great season. They would not be even close to contending for the 8th seed without him, and he's just really the transition from LA to New Orleans has really been good for him, and first season All-Star, so I really think he improved the most, and he deserves this award.
Interesting. I will agree. I think Brandon Ingram has had a spectacular season this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing like how his role kind of continues in his stat line as he continues to play with Zion for future seasons. I'm kind of just interested to see, because I do think a big part of his burst out this season was the fact that Zion didn't play. I think that really helped him out a lot, gave him the ball in his hands a lot more. But and he was a first-time All-Star this year as well. So I definitely agree. Brandon Ingram's a great option. But for me, I think Bam Adebayo deserves it the most. I just think what he's done this year is just outright incredible. He's doubled his points per game. He's averaging 5 assists right now. I think last year he was averaging 2, so he like almost doubled that, added 3 more rebounds. And he's also in the conversation. He's obviously – I don't think he's going to win it. I think we can all agree in that for that. But for Defensive Player of the Year, he's in that conversation. He's an elite defender. Honestly, to me, he's kind of like what we wish Draymond Green could be, kind of like a very solid offensive player, but someone who he is going to protect the rim. He can guard the 1 through 5. I love Bam Adebayo. I think he's had very instrumental in the success of the Miami Heat this year, really putting them into that middle of the pack in the East and kind of a dark horse candidate to come out of the East. And so that's my pick, but I have a quick thing I want to bring up for there's 2 players I kind of just want to like talk about that they're in the discussion, but I feel like no one really talks about them. And I think it kind of comes down to what the award is. And that's with Trey Young and Luca. Those are 2 players that like have absolutely killed it from last year to this year. Like Trey Young, like people sleep the hell out of him. I mean, he's averaging like 28, 29.
Who's sleeping on Trey Young?
Everyone.
Team is focusing all their defensive efforts on Trey Young. No one is sleeping on them.
That's why I think he won't get it though, because he's not slept on. Like, and people are gonna be like, "Oh no, he's always been good." Like he was always like, because he was in the Rookie of the Year conversation, so people were already expecting him. And
that's
Luka
one of my.
As well to
that's
be
one of
great.
the things I want to bring about with the award. Like I feel like this award is geared towards players that no one knows about, and then they come out with a good season. Not necessarily players like Trey Young and Luca, who had great seasons last year, and then they still improved tremendously to this year. But I feel like it's almost like this award kind of is for like that player who had like a mediocre season and then comes out with a spectacular season. I just think that's kind of like an interesting.
I will say, for me, Luca doesn't quite get there for this award because he has not really made a lot of strides of improvement on the defensive end. His defensive game is still so weak after a year of playing in the NBA.
Same with Trey Young.
It's laughable. And no, that's what I'm talking about. About Trey Young.
You said Luca. That's what I'm talking. You said Luca.
Oh, I apologize.
You're good. You're good.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, yeah. So that's why I don't think Trey Young's there. I think Luca honestly should be there in terms of the jump that he has made from last season to this season. It's incredible. I mean, he's in the MVP conversation at least.
Yeah.
after his
Right.
second year coming from the European League. No one saw this coming. Obviously, the Hawks didn't. Otherwise, they would have probably drafted him instead of Trey. Who knows? But speaking of what you were talking about, David, with how this award is supposed to go for the unheard of guys potentially that come out of nowhere
I know
and
it's
tear
coming.
up the season. I have just let me make a case for Devonte Graham on why he should be the most improved player of the year. And granted, I will admit my bias for our listeners right from the beginning. I'm a big Kansas Jayhawks fan. That's who I support for college basketball. But this is besides the fact, because I still think when you break it down and present the argument, it makes sense that he should win this award, and it's not even close. And so I know he doesn't have the highest chance of winning this award, but I at least wanted to make the case and see what you guys think. So here we go. So he's Devonte Graham. Who is he? He's an undersized point guard. He's only 6'1", with a knack for scoring and absolute killer clutch instincts. He doesn't get the praise and recognition that he deserves because he's been on the struggling Hornets team, although they have made improvements from last year to this year. But anyone that knows his stories will tell you that he's earned most valuable or most improved players. So his background, so he wasn't a highly recruited guy coming out of high school. He ended up spending 4 years in college at Kansas, where he only started 2 years after Frank Mason left. And so he was drafted in the second round.
David, so you tell me this guy's autobiography or something?
Hold on. No. I'm just putting this out there. You'll see the come up. So he started 3 games his rookie year, and he was in and out of the G League, averaging less than 5 points a game on 28% from 3. Horrible. And that no one had faith in him, even his own organization, the Hornets, did. Otherwise they wouldn't have overpaid for Terry Rozier while they're getting Kemba Walker out of their roster. And so Graham, who's someone that, is still on his cheap second-round rookie contract, came from nowhere this season and is now not only the best player on his team, but he is also their surprising cornerstone for the overdue rebuild. So this season he's averaging 18.5, and then 7.5 and 3.4 rebounds on 40% from 3. And he's 4th in the entire league in assists and 5th in number of threes made. And that's after his last season where he averaged less than 5 points. And so obviously he almost improved his points 4 times, his assists 3 times, and his rebounds 2.5 times. And like I said, his clutch instincts more than anything else is something that people don't talk about is enough. He won a ton of games this season with them on the game on the line. In the clutch time situations, which are defined as being within 5 points in the last 5 minutes of the game, Devonte Graham ranked 8th in scoring and 2nd in total threes and 6th among in 3-point percentage. And so I think when you take a step back and look at it, his jump going from a guy that was barely in the league to being the best player on a surprising team where no one saw coming definitely deserves recognition. I hope he wins this award. Let's hear your thoughts.
Hold on now. Saying he's the best player on the Charlotte Hornets is not exactly saying a whole lot. Let's be real here.
Fair point.
So,
but when at the end of the season,
like he's not in a successful organization, and you really they really do look at how successful a team is. I mean, you look at Brandon Ingram, and he was on a not successful Lakers team, and then was traded, and then he's the reason that New Orleans is fighting for a playoff spot, along with Drew Holiday. But it was mainly Brandon Ingram, when he's first-time All-Star. Devonte Graham was not quite on that caliber of player yet. I mean, not saying he's not going to get there. I can totally see that, but he's not quite there yet to made that big of a jump.
I disagree that team success has anything to do with this award. I think that makes an impact for MVP, but for most improved player, it's all about the person's growth in their talent and their ceiling, and making a big surprise of a player you didn't think had a bunch of extra potential coming out from nowhere and finding that untapped potential, like we saw with Pascal Siakam last season.
Yeah, but that one way to really prove that is to affect your team's winning percentage. I mean, like, you can get better, but if you don't help your team win at all, then how much better do you really get?
That's why when I was making this argument that I wasn't focusing on the Charlotte Hornets' success, but whereas the player's success, because this is a player and individual award, which I know it has some correlation, but at the end of the day, I still think his jump from barely being in the league and being in the G League to being, one of the best players on a, like I said, admittedly struggling team, I still think deserves recognition. That's what this award's for.
Well, I think one other factor that, Davis, you didn't bring up with Devonte Graham is, yes, he made a very large jump, and a big part of that jump was the fact that from his rookie season to this past season, or this current season, he more than doubled his minutes per game, tripled his field goal attempts, but he's still shooting 38% of the field. 38% from the field for this season, which is horrendous, obviously. I think that's another big factor. I think his numbers are a bit of a I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word, but it's kind of like I think they're like a mirage, honestly. Like, his numbers are just as a result of the bigger role he's being played with the Hornets and having the ball in his hand, playing significantly higher minutes. Giving the freedom, the green light to go out there and shoot any shot he wants. And Devonte Graham is a great player. He definitely can become a solid guard in this league. But I think, like, the fact that his field goal percentage is, like, so significantly low compared to his numbers, to me, shows that it's more just it's just a player that's on a really crappy team, and he's been given the green light to put up the numbers he wants to put up. And
I will say, though, not a lot of people are watching the Charlotte Hornets games, but I'm a Devonte Graham fan, so I've watched my fair share. And his field goal percentage is obviously, I think it should be lower, and it makes sense if you watch the Hornets because he's pretty much he's a what do you call it? Catch and shoot 3-point shooter is what he's known for. I mean, he's a volume 3. And D player. And so I think it makes sense that, he's not being utilized like Terry Rozier in the pick and roll and able to get some jumpers off a screen or, kind of get
more playing like the two and stuff instead of the point guard.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. And so I think it does make sense that his overall field goal percentage is lower, and going from last season where it was 28% to this season, his 3-point percentage was 37%. I mean, that's still a good jump, and he's now considered an elite 3-point shooter in the league.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I do agree with one point you said that, like, a big part of this award is, like, attributing it to the individual player, but I feel like part of, like, how well that player is doing, it kind of factors into how well his team is doing.
How well,
I'm not saying this player is on that level, but, like, for example, Trey Young is putting up MVP numbers, but he is never going to be in the MVP conversation until the Hawks are at least a title contending team. I mean, like, and I know that's a completely other conversation, and I know that's MVP, but I think, like, how well that player is doing, I think that's definitely a factor for every award, because the player can be putting up incredible numbers, but if their team sucks, like, at the end of the day, like, who cares? Are they really impacting anything?
I mean, there are other reasons that a player can be put in a bad position. I mean, you can't tell me Devin Booker's a bad player just because his franchise and organization hasn't been able to put a decent team in.
But he's not going to win any awards on the Suns. He's not going to win any awards on the Suns. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
So
I agree, and I think it's a part of the conversation that still should matter, because it's not all, like, there's not only the players at stake in those situations. I think the owners and the GMs of these teams need to, be held accountable for also putting good talent together and rosters to help complement star players.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think we should move on from this one.
Yep.
Sorry,
you gave us a little
stole the show on that
biography of Devonte Graham's life.
But we all had different.
We all had different ones for. Yeah,
we had different answers.
ones, which I think is honestly, I think most improved player this year is going to be a very interesting one to see how that plays out because there's so many players that really have a good case for
Yep.
it. So,
I think coach as well, but we'll get
Coach
into
of the
it.
year, that's going to be another good one. So let's go ahead and move into the next one. Defensive player of the year. I'm going to read off mine real quick. So I've got Giannis. And the reason why it kind of ties into why I think LeBron deserves to win MVP. I think Anthony Davis has incredible defensive stats. His are better. To me, it comes down to Anthony Davis and Giannis. I think Anthony Davis has better stats, but I think Giannis impacts his team more defensively. They kind of center around his defensive capabilities. And I just think what he does for the Bucks on the court, it really sets the defensive tone for that team, and it's why they're number one team in the East. And so I've got Giannis.
Yeah, I was gonna say Giannis as well. I pretty much was gonna say exactly what you said. I mean, he really affects his team's defense more than any other player. You guys said that you think the Bucks would be a better team without Giannis than the Lakers would be without LeBron. Well, I would disagree with that because you take Giannis off the Bucks team and they're giving up 130 points a night. Like, they're not without Giannis, they're not a great defensive team. So I really think Giannis deserves to win this one.
Yeah, I actually also have Giannis.
Hey, there we go.
So I'm not going to spend any additional time on this one. However, I will say I have two things. Shout out to Marcus Smart.
Yes.
Because if guards were eligible to win this award,
he
would have it for sure.
Yeah.
He deserves the hell out of it.
Yeah, I love watching good defense, and he's a great player. And then I have a trivia for you guys. So if Giannis Antetokounmpo is able to capture this award as well as MVP, he'll join two other players to have won the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. Can you name the other two?
Michael Jordan and Hakeem?
Okay, Michael
Correct.
Jordan.
Yeah,
I was going to say Michael and
I was going to
Hakeem.
say, I thought I saw that like a week ago or something. I knew Michael Jordan was one. I just couldn't remember the other for sure. So.
Man,
yeah,
David,
I was going to say, was it Hakeem?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Was Hakeem in that season when Michael was playing baseball? Like, is that when he won it?
Yeah.
The Rockets were able to win that year.
All right. Well, perfect. We all got the same one there. That's good.
All right. So let's go to the Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. Davis, why don't you kick us off?
All right. So I got Nick Nurse for the Toronto Raptors. And I will say I think there's this one, in general, Coach of the Year, I think isn't really – there's no clear winner. I think there's a lot of good names in consideration. But for me, it comes down to Nick Nurse because the Raptors have been struggling with injuries all season. Almost all their players have been out for different stretches of time due to injuries, and Marc Gasol has obviously been struggling with that and getting on the court as well. And for them to have lost the Finals MVP and the glue of their team last season, and not have such a huge drop-off, and actually be on pace to have a better record than last season when they won it all, I think goes to speak volumes about Nick Nurse, as well as the improvement of the responsibility of Pascal Siakam. And I think Nick Nurse really could have won it last year, quite honestly, and should have. But that's a conversation for another day. But I think Nick Nurse is due to get some recognition here this year.
Yeah, I was going to say Nick Nurse as well. For me, it was between Nick Nurse and Billy Donovan because, I mean, we know Oklahoma City has pulled a complete 180 of what we thought they were going to be entering the season. But what I think separates it between the two is Billy Donovan has Chris Paul, who's one of the best leaders in the NBA. Nick Nurse, his only superstar, just per se, is Pascal Siakam, who is not a superstar at the moment. So for the Raptors to be in such a great – I mean, they're second in the East?
Yep, second in the East.
Yeah, for them to be second in the East with no big name all-star or superstar or anything like that, I think that really speaks volumes for their coach. And also, Pascal Siakam has developed so much as a player. He was the most improved player, and I think that had a lot to do with the coaching staff. So I have to pick Nick Nurse for that.
Okay, so I have Billy Donovan. I think Nick Nurse has done a fantastic job with the Raptors this year. But the reason why I have Billy Donovan is because me and a significant number of people would definitely agree with this. Nobody thought the Thunder were even going to make the playoffs. The Raptors, on the other
No,
hand,
absolutely
if
not.
anyone thought the Raptors were going to miss out on the playoffs, they are kidding themselves, and they're overhyping what Kawhi meant to that team. I think Kawhi was very impactful, and them winning that championship, but people forget to realize the Raptors are a very solid team, and they have great pieces on that roster. I think Nick Nurse has done a
Yep.
great job, as Davis said, with the injuries throughout the year. That's very difficult, but to me, it's just that I truly thought the Thunder were going to be going into the lottery. I really did. And I think what Billy
Yeah.
Donovan has been able to do, working with those pieces on that team, developing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I just really think the Thunder are just the surprise team of the year for me. And they're in an absolute loaded West. They're above the Mavericks and the Rockets. And, probably by the end of this restart, they're going to be above the Jazz. I just think
Yeah.
the Thunder are just such a surprise team, and that's why I think Billy Donovan deserves it.
All right.
So,
I see why you would say Billy Donovan, but
I think both of them have done a great job this year. I completely agree.
yeah,
The Raptors
absolutely.
and the Thunder are the two surprise teams. I just think I thought the Thunder were going to be in the lottery. So
Yeah.
that's just why I have Billy Donovan edging it out there. So
That's fair.
I have a question to pose.
Okay.
Now that kind of moving on into the next portion of our podcast, because obviously there hasn't been a lot of focus on some of the teams that are not in the bubble. And so one of those teams being the New York Knicks needs to address their point guard situation this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see them addressing that need in the draft or the free agency market? And what players do you think could be a potential target for them?
It's going to have to
go through the draft.
I agree. I feel like we've gotten to the point now where the players just realize if they really if you're going to go to the Knicks, it's you understand you're not going to win a championship. You understand you're not going to win a championship, and you're probably not going to you're not going to be in the playoffs. I think the Knicks, their free agency period this last year is going to be what it looks like for them for a while until they make some front office changes, and it's where they sign mediocre players for large contracts that are absolutely ridiculous. And so I think they have to go to the draft, and I think LaMelo Ball would be a great pick for them. I also think Anthony Edwards would be another great pickup. He's more of a shooting guard than a point guard. And I think it'd be very interesting to see how Anthony Edwards and RJ Barrett play off each other, because RJ Barrett's kind of that point forward kind of player. So I think it's got to be through the draft, and they just have to develop RJ Barrett and whoever they pick in the lottery this year.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it makes sense for them to do it through the draft. I think the only thing that holds them back and maybe makes them, target someone like Chris Paul, who's been rumored to maybe the Knicks are interested in potentially trying to target him this offseason. I think because just 3 years ago they drafted Frank Ntilikina out of France with the 8th pick, they're going to be in a similar situation, and obviously they didn't hit on that. Or, quite frankly, a lot of their picks recently, outside of Kristaps Porzingis, was probably their last, good pick that they've had.
Yep.
And, it's too early to call on RJ Barrett. But I will say I think there's two guys in this draft class that make a lot of sense in that system. And I think that's Killian Hayes as well as Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State. Tyrese Halliburton is not a ball-dominant player at all and is very good off the pick and roll, as well as coming off the screens. And so from a pure shooter and someone that's able to play make and play great defense alongside RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, some of those young athletic pieces, I think makes a lot of sense, and is someone I think could develop into a Klay Thompson type of mold eventually. I know it's way too early to say anything about that type of comparison. But he does have a similar play style, and I think would be really helpful on the Knicks.
I also think another point guard that might be a nice. It kind of honestly depends where they land in the lottery, but Tyrese Maxey out of Kentucky. I think he's a good fit for bright lights. Playing at Kentucky, he was always a player taking fearless clutch shots. I think he might be another option. I mean, there's a lot of questions about him and his consistency. shooting, but
the
he definitely like has the talent. So
the only reason I don't see Tyrese Maxey there at this moment for the Knicks is if they are looking at him, they're definitely going to be looking to trade down to get him because he'll be available in most likely the
mid-late round.
12, 13 slot. And so if they're wanting to get rid of, their pick and get an additional second round asset or something through that, they could. But Tyrese Maxey's play style and his downhill tempo, I don't think makes, the most sense when you do have some non-ball dominant, really good true shooters and playmakers in both Killian Hayes and Tyrese Halliburton. So we'll see where they end up selecting. Or if they end up, surprising us all and getting, maybe a Ricky Rubio or, trying to get one of those young
someone
Spurs
in free
guards.
agency. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and segue into our last portion of the podcast for today. And so we are going to do, it's a little of a trivia game. So I'm going to give you the stat I'm looking at, and I'll give you two players' names, and you're going to guess who averages more in that stat line, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So the first one is going to be points, and I've got points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, and there's two different sets in each of those categories. So we got 10 total. So the first one is who do you think averages more points between Jason Tatum and Zach LaVine?
This season, or is it career?
It's just this season. My
long
bad. I apologize. All these stat lines are just for this season.
Oh,
All right, I'm going with Jason Tatum.
Ben?
I don't.
Hey, can we also be making predictions on the points and
Yeah, go ahead. That'll make it more interesting.
So I'm gonna suppose Jason Tatum averages 24 and a half, and I'm gonna say Zach LaVine is averaging 22.
Okay.
Okay, no, I'd say I'm gonna have to go Zach LaVine. I think because offensive weapon, so he's got the ball most of the time. I bet he's around like 25, and Tatum's around like 22 and a half or 23.
Okay, so Jason Tatum averages 23.6 points per game, and Zach LaVine averages 25.5. So Zach LaVine averages more.
Oh,
good call,
So
Ben.
Zach
Good
LaVine
call.
averages more.
Yo!
All right.
You're right on there.
The next one is who averages more points, DeAndre Ayton or LaMarcus Aldridge?
Ayton.
How many?
Ayton had a very underrated season.
How many?
Oh, this is
I'm
hard.
gonna say Ayton.
I'm gonna say Ayton was averaging 18.
Okay.
And LaMarcus was averaging 16 and a half.
Okay. Ben?
Okay, I'm gonna say it was really close, but I'm gonna say Ayton was averaging 17 and Aldridge was averaging like 15 and a half, 16.
Okay, so DeAndre Ayton did average more. He averaged 19 points a game, and LaMarcus Aldridge averaged 18.9 points a game. So it was a lot closer than you guys thought. Very close. Very close.
Yeah.
Wow.
All
The
right.
margin is very close.
So the next one.
You're getting some good complementary players. I like.
All right, so the next one is rebounds. So who do you think averages more rebounds?
Okay.
Nikola Jokic or Bam Adebayo?
Ooh. I think it's Bam. I think Bam. I don't think Jokic. I could be wrong, but I think Jokic is a pretty weak rebounder in general for
How many?
a center.
How many do you guys think that each have?
I know he's actually not a weak rebounder. Like I know he's putting up around like 10, but I want to say Bam is around like 11.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Bam.
So Jokic 10, Bam 11.
Davis?
Oh, yeah. I think Bam also has it. I'm going 10 and a half and 10.2.
Okay. So Bam averages 10 and a half, and Jokic averages 10.2. Davis, did you look that up?
No, I did not. Oh God, I have Frank Ntilikina.
Wait. So it was by half a point. He has half, like less than half a rebound more.
0.3 rebounds more. Dude, trust me, these are close.
God.
These players are close.
That was literally exact. So
I know, Davis. That's why I asked if you looked it up. I was like, that's kind of sketch.
Dude, you definitely looked that up, Davis. You fucking cheater.
No, all those big men are always right around 10 and a half. What do you mean?
All right. Here's the next one. This is a fun one. And this will make you really think. Okay. Who do you think
All right.
averages more rebounds? Bradley Beal or Trey Young? This is a good one.
Oh, I'm saying Brad Beal.
Bradley
How many?
Beal.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many for Brad?
Bradley Beal averages 5.3. Trey is like 5.1.
Davis?
I'm gonna go 7.5 to 7. That's probably too high saying that out loud, but we're going with it.
Okay. Bradley Beal averages 4.2 rebounds a game, and Trey Young averages 4.5. So Trey Young averages more rebounds than Bradley Beal.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That was
I don't know why.
I did not see that one.
That was a good one. All right. Now we're into assists. Who averages more assists per game? Devonte Graham or Malcolm Brogdon?
Davis probably knows this one.
I'm gonna say Devonte Graham just because I know he was 4th in assists on the season. I just don't know if Malcolm Brogdon was 1 through 3, so I'm saying Devonte.
I'd say Devonte. No, I'm gonna say Malcolm.
How many do you guys think they averaged?
I know Devonte averaged 7.5 because I was doing the research for that.
Okay. Ben?
Malcolm, I'm gonna say was at 7 straight.
Okay.
7 flat.
I'm gonna say Malcolm was at 7.8, and Devonte was at 7.5. Since Davis clearly knows.
So Devonte Graham did average 7.5, and Malcolm Brogdon averaged 7.1. So Devonte Graham averaged more.
Oh.
All right.
Nice.
This next one's a very good one too. All right. So who averaged more assists? Kawhi Leonard or Markelle Fultz?
Assists? Yeah, I'm gonna go.
I bet Markelle.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with as well.
All right, Markelle.
I bet
Markelle did win. I will tell you guys that he did win, 5.2 assists per game. But Kawhi was very close. He averaged 5 a game. So it was very close. All right, now we're in blocks. Who do you think averaged more blocks per game? Jonathan Isaac or Rudy Gobert?
Rudy Gobert.
Ooh. Bro, I don't know. When Jonathan Isaac is on the court, he is an animal on the defensive end. I'm going to go John Isaac.
He is.
I'm going to say he was averaging 2.1 blocks and Rudy Gobert 1.8.
Okay. Ben?
I'd say swap the numbers on those two.
Jonathan Isaac averaged 2.4 blocks per game. Rudy Gobert averaged 2 flat. So Jonathan Isaac averaged more.
All right.
We're on fire. Let's get it.
All right. Next round of the blocks. So who averages more blocks per game? JaVale McGee or Jarrett Allen?
That's hard. I'm going to go Jarrett Allen just because he's known as a blocker, but it wouldn't surprise me to see JaVale with his usage this season. He's got long arms.
I'd say Jarrett Allen probably because he played more. Oh, wait, no. If that's the case, then probably – actually, no, I'd go JaVale because he played less, so he'd probably – yeah, no, that doesn't make sense. I'd go
Got to pick, Ben.
5, 4.
I go Jarrett Allen.
Okay. Right. Jarrett Allen averaged 1.3 blocks per game. JaVale McGee averaged 1.5.
Dang.
Yep. We both taken out. All right.
As soon as you said 1.3, I knew JaVale was going to be higher.
All right. Next is steals. So we got 2 more rounds left, and they're both steals. So who averages more steals per game? Chris Dunn or Marcus Smart?
Chris Dunn this season.
Yeah, I go Chris Dunn.
Yep. Chris Dunn averages 2 a game. Marcus Smart averages 1.6.
Chris Dunn has very quick hands. They both do, but Marcus Smart makes more of his steals off of reading passing lanes and making the interception, clearing those off. Whereas Chris Dunn's a little more crafty and quick with his hands. But yeah, both very good on the defensive end.
All right.
I love defense.
Last round of the steals. This is our last round of the whole game. So, who averages more steals per game? Chris Paul or James Harden?
Oh, I'm gonna go Harden because this thing. Instinctually I would have thought Chris Paul, but I know it's probably gonna be James
Okay.
Harden.
I'm going Chris Paul
All
just
right.
for the legacy value, but I actually think it's Harden, but I just want to get an extra point here.
James Harden averages 1.7 steals per game. Chris Paul averages 1.6 steals per game. So James Harden's got it.
Okay.
So
Hey, so
let's
some of our listeners out there, if you want to tally up our scores and send it to us into our DMs at Junkie Sports Media, that would be perfect.
Awesome. All right, so
Appreciate
that wraps up our podcast for the day. Listeners, thanks for listening in. We really appreciate it. And peace out.